In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this card, including how I custom dyed my white crocheted flower so that it coordinates. So why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need is a small container, which you're going to fill with 2 to 3 tablespoons of water, and you're going to need your dye color. Now I've already gone ahead and dyed it. I used the Sage Shadow re-inker from Stampin' Up, and I put 10 drops of re-inker into my water and then mixed it very well. You're then going to take your crocheted flower, and this is from Stampin' Up's Accents and Elements Florets 2. And you're going to drop it into your container and then use a pair of tweezers to dunk it into the dyed solution. Now as you see, I'm turning my container on an angle so that the flower really gets fully immersed in the water. I didn't use more water deliberately because I didn't want to have to use up a lot of my re-inker. I like to make it go a long way. So I'm dunking my flower until it reaches the color, the desired depth of color. So as you can see here, it's about as dark as I'd like it now. So I'm letting the excess drip. I'm then going to take a folded paper towel, and I'm going to drop my flower on there, and I'm going to soak up the excess water. Once you've done that, you can set your flower aside to dry. Now if you're in a rush, you can use a heat tool to speed up the heating process. So next thing we're going to need for the card are these die cut flowers. I cut these using Stampin' Up's Big XL Flower Folds die, and it already comes with the folds, and I've gone ahead and folded up the petals. Now this is a die that's exclusive to Stampin' Up, so if you want to get one, you'll have to get it from a Stampin' Up demonstrator. As you can see, I'm going to flip this over, and you can see that I used some scrap cardstock. That's why it's stamped on the back. Now I'm going to take my paper piercing tool, and I'm going to pierce a hole in the center of the smallest flower. And then I'm going to flip it over and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. I like to add Stampin' Dimensionals to my flowers because I like to give it that extra height. Now I'm going to take a flower that I previously dyed and let dry, and I'm going to take one of Stampin' Up's large clear rhinestone brads. I'm going to insert that through the flower of through the center of my crocheted flower, and then through the center of my small flower, and flip open the prongs at the back. Remove the backing from my Stampin' Dimensionals, and then I'm going to center and stick this onto my larger flower. Now I die cut out of Sage Shadow cardstock this swirl, and it's from the Stampin' Up Swirls and Scribbles die, and I'm going to use Sage Shadow Classic ink and a wedge of stamping sponge. I'm just going to pounce my stamping sponge on my ink pad, and then I'm going to rub it in a circular motion all over my swirl until it gets to the desired color that I want. So you do it basically as long as you want until the color is as deep as you want. Now I did that for 2 swirls, which you can see I've already punched out of the cardstock here. I'm going to now need some snail adhesive, and I'm going to put a little bit of snail in this portion of my die. Now I'm going to go ahead and position it in between 2 of the petals, and then press that portion to the back of the flower so it sticks. And I want to stagger them on opposite ends of the flower. And you can see there I'm pressing down as it's stuck. So I'm now going to put dimensionals on the back of this piece, and then set that aside for a moment. Now I've already gone ahead and matted a piece of designer paper. This is from the Bella Bleu collection, and it's 3 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and I've matted it onto a piece of scalloped Sage Shadow cardstock. Now the Sage Shadow cardstock is 3 5/8 of an inch by 4 1/4 inches. I'm going to want to stamp a greeting, so I'm going to need to grab a scrap of vanilla cardstock, and this greeting is from Stampin' Up's All Holidays set, and I'm stamping it in chocolate chip classic ink. I'm then going to align it in the window of a small oval punch and punch it out. And then I'm going to put some snail adhesive on the back of it. Now I want to stick this to my card, or to my DP, making sure that it's straight. And then I'm going to take a frame. This is from Stampin' Up's Hodgepodge Hardware Collection, the Stylized Silver. So I'm going to make sure it's centered on the greeting, and then I'm going to take my paper piercing tool and pierce a hole on either side so that I can insert my brads, and that's going to be what's going to hold this frame in place. I'm going to go ahead and open that one. And then just hold that in place while I insert my second silver brad. So there you go. I now have my greeting on there. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment, and I'm now going to take my very vanilla card front. And I'm going to sponge this too. Now, this is a little bit different than when you were sponging the Sage Shadow Swirl. I'm going to dab my sponge into the Sage Shadow ink, but this time when I'm inking, I want to start off my cardstock and then bring my sponging onto my cardstock. And this keeps you from ending up with any harsh lines. Now, as I mentioned, I've already gone ahead and done the other sides. So I'm now going to stick my matted designer paper on there. So just add some snail to the back. And I tend to be pretty liberal with my snail. I'm going to align this on my grid paper. And I'm going to attach it so that it's about 3 squares in, so about 3/4 of an inch from the edge. And then make sure it's aligned at the top as well. So you've now got that attached. And last thing, I'm going to take my flower, remove the backing from the Stampin' Dimensionals, and then I'm going to position my flower on my card front. And then just fold up the petals to give it a little more texture and dimension. So there you have it. Fast, easy, and now you can customize your flowers to any color palette that you have. Thanks for stamping with me. Bye for now.